Off Addicts, the Tour Junkies coming at you. I'm DB. I got my boy Pat Perry with me. Coming off the Masters. There's always a Masters hangover. Now, this year it's
Always.
a little different because, you know, we weren't there. There were no patrons, so we weren't there. We didn't party like we normally do. Slightly different. So maybe a little less hangover. But we're here to talk. We're going to do a little Masters recap. Try not to cover everything that you probably could go listen to 100 other places. So we'll make it quick. Then we're going to get into the RSM Classic with our DFS and betting picks. Going to try to make that quick as well. Have a good show tonight. I'm excited, Pat. I've got some Wild Leap and cranberry tonight in my cup, but I'm doing the light cranberry. It's actually this new sparkling cranberry. It's got a little fizz to it. It's very good.
I do not have any
got
Wild
a
Leaf
brewski?
tonight. A little beer tonight from a Georgia brewing company in Athens, Georgia, Creature Comforts. It's
Fantastic company.
Good beer here. So, I'm going to take it a little easy. Just sip on a beer tonight.
Yes, we're going to get into that because you're going to be sipping on something else here in just a little bit.
That's right. Mm-hmm.
You know what, man? It was a good week. DJ winning the Masters for the first time, blowing away the field, setting the tournament record, grabbing Paulina's arse on the way off the 18th green. It was a good tournament. DJ, love to see him win it. Here's the thing. I was thinking about this, and I feel like I should say this. I actually like DJ. I do. I have gone on record now. We've done close to 300 podcasts by now, maybe more. I don't know. I've never counted. And I probably have a handful of those where I've made fun of Dustin Johnson for being kind of dumb. But at the end of the day, I like him. I actually like him. And I do believe that he's smarter than he lets on. I think sometimes he likes to play it that way. I don't think he's smart, but I think he's smarter than maybe what I've given him credit for through the years. But I like DJ, and I like to see him win. I like to see him get the green jacket. I think he's a worthy champion. I love to see the emotion that he showed at the end of it. It was good to see some of that. I love the way I didn't see a lot of people talking about this, but I love that he just tapped in on 18, that he didn't mark his ball. Literally every other player in the field would have marked their ball, let Sung Jae, and Answer finish up so they could get their dramatic final shot, but DJ's like, F it. This is a 6-inch putt. Like, I'm going to go ahead and walk up there and knock it in, which I love that. I love the way he plays it. It's somewhat contrarian. He's fast. He plays golf fast, which I love. So it was good to see. Now I do have a hot Paulina take, if I may, Pat.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And
I was going to talk about DJ some more, but Paulina's.
Well, we can go back and forth. Me and Ben Little were talking about this a little bit last night. Hot take, like, from like Paulina's face, not that great. I think it's a little overrated. I think her face it's a little too much Wayne in there. A little too much Wayne Gretzky. That's just my opinion. Obviously they had her all over the place, so you couldn't help but see her. And I'm just not, I don't know. I think she kind of looks like a fish.
Wow.
I'm just in the face.
I don't know if I would go that far.
Just a little fishish in the face.
Yeah, I don't know if I'd go that far, but
okay.
I mean,
I said it was a hot take.
It is very hot. I mean, it's scorching hot. I think if you take Wayne, if you've never seen Wayne, which most people have, I guess, you could kind of take that out of the picture. I don't know. I think, yeah, I'm probably opposite your take there. I'm fine with her.
Okay. DJ 34% owned in the Millie Maker. In terms of DFS, it was not a good week for me. I got to be honest. And what's crazy is every single player that I had exposure to in DFS, betting, monkey knife fight, every player that I had exposure to made the cut. Now, obviously, a high percentage of players made the cut with a T50 and ties in a field of 93 or whatever it ended up being. You had 25% ish had 6 of 6 in terms of DFS lineups on average. So there's a lot of 6 of 6 lineups. But I went with the contrarian, playing the numbers game, and I faded the most popular players, including DJ, Xander Schauffele, Jason Kokrak. 2 of those 3 were good fades. DJ, not a good fade, because basically the way he scored, if you didn't have DJ in your DFS lineups, you likely did not cash, as he was so high owned. But
yeah,
he should have been high owned for a reason. He was chalk for a reason. Sometimes eating the chalk pays off. Sometimes fading the chalk pays off. This is an example. I went back and looked at it, and I'm like, you know what? I had a good process. I had really good low-owned pivots. I was way overweight on Corey Connors in the 6K range. He was like my low-end guy that I paid up for. I had plenty of Rory and Justin Thomas. I just said, okay, I got to do something with DJ here. What am I doing? And I decided to just not eat the chalk and cross my fingers and hope. And it didn't work out. So.
Yeah, it was kind of similar for me. I mean, I ended up with a few different guys. I had a lot of Brooks, and I liked where I was with him, and he had a good week, but I had hardly any DJ, and it didn't pan out for me. But, whatever. I mean, it is what it is. It's not always going to work out, but I did do good on the Thrive stuff. We talked about Thrive a little bit, I think, on some social media posts. They have some interesting games over there, and I did pretty well there. But
yeah, you've been cleaning it up over there. I've been cleaning up on Monkey Knife Fight. I did well there. We nailed some of the fades. We actually really did a good job with the fades on the show. I mean, our picks weren't bad. We faded Terrell Hatton, who missed the cut, who ended up on Saturday, right after he finished his second round on Saturday morning, came to Champions Retreat where I was playing, and ended up playing right behind me. And poor Hatton continued to struggle even on Champions Retreat. I tweeted a video of him like letting go of the club halfway through the swing because he's mad at a drive at Champions. It's pretty funny. We faded Colin Morikawa, who finished 44th. Jason Day missed the cut. Matthew Fitzpatrick was a fade, finished 46th. We nailed low Canadian Corey Connors, low Aussie Cam Smith. You were all over. Chalk bomb Ben. Jason Kokrak, the first timer at 20+%. Yeah. You should have faded him. He missed the cut, so we hit that pretty nicely. There were some first timers that surprised me. Sung JM was just absolutely methodical all week. But CT Pan was a big shocker for me. That was a name that I did not expect to see at all.
He did come up in the Nut Hut some, though, and I noticed.
Well, of course he did. Everybody comes up in the Nut Hut.
That is true.
Everybody Lyle came up in the Nut Hut.
Yeah, everybody comes up. But I do know there were some people that were on him and that played him. Sebastian Munoz, he was another guy I was on. And if he had a couple blow-up holes on Sunday, but you take those, I think he had 2 doubles in a row, but you take those out, he has a pretty high finish. And he's a first-timer, but he showed all the signs of having the game to, the form, the right game to play well there. And he showed up pretty good. I think the interesting to me, the one guy I noticed on a lot of winning GPP lineups was Cam Champ. And if you looked at his – and you talked about this a lot with Bryson last week. If you looked at what Cam Champ did, I think he finished 6 under. So whatever, top 20 maybe, but he scored a ton. I mean, he had like 19 birdies, a couple eagles, so he was, you take out, all the bogeys he had. I mean, he would have been right up there. But I thought that was interesting when you looked at this week. Not necessarily how they finished was what, he scored a ton of points. So.
Yeah. Well, but you had him and CT Pan, 2 first-timers in the top 10. You had another 4 in the top 25. So 6 total first-timers in the top 25. which, we had Charles Howell on the show, talked about how first timers could probably do a little better this year. And I think that was on display. And the course for sure just played a lot different. I mean, it just played so soft. We had so much rain Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday, and even Thursday morning with the delay. It just played. It was just a really, really soft golf course. So these guys just pounded it. I mean, there were so many up and downs that, especially on Sunday, between Cam Smith and Sung J M, that when they made contact and the ball's in the air, I'm like, that ball's not stopping. And then it would stop, obviously that's not how Augusta wants it to be played, but there's only so much you can do when Mother Nature takes over there. Now you did have Tiger. I think we got to talk about Tiger, who just committed to the wrong wind there, Pat. Just committed to the wrong wind on 12 on Sunday, recorded a 10. But in true Tiger fashion, birdied 4 or 5 of the next holes. I mean, got it back to red figures.
Yeah, I mean, he birdied 5 of his last 6 holes, which is incredible. And it's, if you think about it, yes, the 10 was terrible and everybody wants to talk about that. But the way he bounced back from that shows you a lot about Tiger Woods. He didn't quit. He didn't, you didn't see him sulking around and doing whatever. I mean, it's like a lesson you could teach kids. It's like, watch.
I was just about to say, did you already teach Harrison this earlier today? So now you're just.
I showed him video. They made him sit down and watch all those the 10 and then what happened after the 10.
But I will say, I told Collins, who on the golf course can get pretty down on himself after one bad hole or something, or even a bad shot. I'm like, dude, Tiger Woods just made a 10 on a par 3. He's like, a what? I said, he made a 10 on a par 3. He couldn't believe it. I was like, if he could do it, then you can do it, and you're not going to get pissed about it. So it is definitely so many dads across America with teachable moments there, thanks to Eldrick. But he scored a lot, and I talked about him on the show last week. I felt like DraftKings, if he came in under the radar, he'd be a sneaky play. And I think it would have, he's like 7% owned, 6% owned. You could add some leverage there with Tiger. But we've talked about we talked about a lot of people except the big golfer, Mr. Bryson DeChambeau. Now, I
can't stand him even more now.
I did end up playing Bryson in DFS. He did score. He didn't score to the extent that I needed him to score, but he did. He barely sneaks in on and makes the cut, snuck in on the line. But most notably, Pat, he drove. He cleared the trees and cut the corner on number 13, which on this very podcast over the weekend, you said that if Bryson DeChambeau can clear, old man yells at cloud, if Bryson DeChambeau clears the trees, I will eat my course preview. I'll eat the paper my course previews on. And literally, as soon as it happened, I believe on Saturday, maybe it was Friday.
It happened Saturday because he had to complete his round.
This was his 3rd round Saturday.
No, I thought he did in the 2nd round.
Oh, okay. So anyway, it happened on Saturday. As
Whatever
soon as
day
it
it
happened, the Twitter, thank you to the Tour Junkie faithful on Twitter. The Nut Hut Discord notifications were blinging, going off. Hey, it's time. Pat has to eat the paper. It's done.
Yeah, I knew it was coming. In the first time he played 13, I was looking at it and I was like, okay. I will say, I do think if those tees are back 10 yards further, there's an overhanging tree. If you watch the video, I watched 3 of his shots on 13. If you're back, which I think he was on the first day, you can't clear because there's a tree that overhangs. But the first day, he just tried to take it out and draw it, and he just blew it out way right. The second day, the tees are up, and I knew it. As soon as I saw it, I looked at it, I was like, oh, shit, here it goes. Because I could tell, you could see the angle. You could see the line. I was like, he can clear that for sure, where the tees were. And sure enough, he takes it straight over that line. I think he even saw the picture that I put in the Nut Hut of the line that I wanted.
You think somebody in the Nut Hut reported that to him?
Because it literally was on that exact line.
It was probably strike lightning. So what do you got for us, buddy? What do you got for us? Let's see what you have planned.
I have to eat paper, so I have to eat the course history. So in true Bryson form, Bryson likes his protein shakes.
Mm-hmm.
So I have this old style blender. You can tell I don't make a lot of protein shakes.
It's an old style blender.
And I'm going to make a Bryson paper shake. So
Okay.
I've got the course history in here.
Oh, you got the whole thing in there. Look at that.
You can even see writing on it.
Wow, that's perfect.
I'm eating the whole damn thing.
Hey, I admire that. What else are you putting in there?
Well, glad you asked. I have some frozen mixed berries.
Okay, yeah, that's good.
I don't ever make smoothies, but I feel like that could be something that's good in a smoothie.
Yeah, you got to do that. Yeah, I would put more in there than maybe. It sounds like you literally put 2 berries in there. Oh, okay.
So I already have a little bit of a water base, and I don't have any protein. So I bought this. This is kind of cheating a little bit. I bought this shake, this protein shake thing.
Yeah.
So we're going to use that. We're going to make it with that.
That's not cheating. You got some Metamucil in there to keep you regular, buddy?
I should put some Wild Leaf in there, but I feel like that might. I'm going to put a little ice in there. I got my Masters 2020 cup here.
Yeah. Okay.
I think that's all I got. Pour all that ice in there.
Oh, how many people are we going to get complaining of the blender sound?
Sorry. Look, hey, you need to cover
If you're sensitive to blender sounds, skip 30 seconds.
All right, so here we go. I'll count it down so all you sensitive ear people out there won't get mad. Here we go. 1, 2, 3.
Did you do it?
Great for podcast listening.
I didn't even hear it.
Stir it a little bit.
I actually think that's gonna. I mean, people in the YouTube chat are asking if it's worse than the ranch water shot. There's no way. I mean, there's good flavors in there. It's just paper, but the paper will be shredded. The ranch water shot is absolutely disgusting. No, that looks delicious. Now we got to make sure the paper doesn't like collect at the bottom there.
Well, I mean, I'm gonna drink.
Is there some paper in there? Can you see the paper at all, or is it all?
You can't really see it. There's some in here. I can see it. There's some.
I'm gonna trust you. I'm gonna trust you. You did put the whole sheet of paper in there, which I respect. I got to be honest. I kind of thought there was gonna be like some torn off pieces, and you were gonna. But I bet that's pretty good. You're not even tasting the paper.
Yeah, you taste the paper.
What if tomorrow you go to the bathroom and you drop a load and you turn around and you look at it and all you see is a little sliver of paper that says Bryson. You know?
It'll just make me even more angry that look, I got to give him credit. Did you see anybody else try what he did?
No. But he still lost to Bernhard Langer. So, you know what? I got to say, I kind of felt like Bryson, it was a little disappointing to me. I felt like the hype, and obviously everybody's going to talk about, he said it was a par 67, blah, blah, blah.
There's definitely paper in this, by the way. But
okay, the talk about him hitting it through 13 fairway into 14 fairway, he didn't even come close to that.
No.
I don't think he could have come close. Maybe it was the soft conditions. Maybe he felt like if it was running a little bit, he could get there. But some of the balls he hit, I'm like, that's not. I mean, it was like 340 or 3. It wasn't that big a deal. Rory was moving him out there pretty good. Rory looked pretty sharp, man. I mean, day one really sucked for him, but Rory was one that I had him in DFS. I was paying attention to him. I mean, if not for that first round, he would have just. He could have been right there with DJ, but he was swinging it so good those last 3 days. He is one that I'm really interested in come April. I want to take note of a few names because I already looked at a couple prop Masters 2021 bets on PointsBet, which if you are in a legal state where PointsBet is allowed, I believe that's New Jersey, Illinois, Indiana, maybe Colorado, you can use promo code TJ250 to get you a deposit bonus when you sign up. TJ 250 on PointsBet. But Xander, I noticed. Now, Xander was pretty chalk, did not play great. We were betting him at 16-1. I think he got down to 14-1 at some point, close to Thursday. He's at 20-1 right now on PointsBet for 2021. You know, I still think Xander's a prime candidate to win at Augusta at some point. Definitely had an off week. Not sure why. I haven't really dug into it, but you know, I think Xander can contend at Augusta as he already has outside of this past week. But 20-1, I don't see that number getting a whole lot shorter up until 2021. I think it's going to go right back to where it was. A name that we're going to see, a couple names we're going to see this week that weren't here in 2020, but Harris English is out there at 90-1. Georgia boy playing really well right now. Great iron player, great short game. 90-1 is an interesting number. Corey Connors, I mean, or actually, I should say Rory Bonners is the name he's been given in the Nut Hut because, you know, our boy AC has been putting out rules, right? We got rules in the Nut Hut, and one of the rules is you don't start screenshotting and victory lapping before the tournament's over, and so you can't jinx a player, you know, by bringing them up too early, and that apparently that happened with Corey Connors, so he was quickly renamed Rory Bonners. So anyway, he's 100-1. You know, just finished top 10 at Augusta. He's gotten increasingly better. Missed cut first time, 45th, I think, his second time, and then a top 10 just now. I definitely think he's got the ball striking ability to do it. Dylan Fratelli, who everybody saw a lot of, you know, had a chance. He's 100-1, 2021. I got to say, I didn't know this. You know, we interviewed Fratelli this year. Nice guy, good guy, kind of odd, but had no idea the length that he had added. I mean, I didn't think he was a short player, but a, you know, 46-inch driver. You know, he's hitting the 46-inch driver, hitting it a long way, which is obviously good for Augusta. And it's South Africans, they just do well at Augusta. You know, he's 100-1 on PointsBet. And then finally, another name I'm sure we're going to talk about here shortly, another Georgia boy, Russell Henley at 150-1 right now. I mean, you talk about Augusta National being a second shot golf course right now, probably the hottest iron player on the planet. You could make a case is Russell Henley. Just from an iron play standpoint, since the restart, Russell Henley has been fantastic. You know, will that continue for another 4 months, 5 months, I guess? I don't know. But 150-1 on PointsBet, it's not a bad number as you look ahead to Masters 2021. How's that? You got some paper stuck in your teeth?
Man. When I saw it shredded up, I thought, I was like, okay, this might be a piece of cake. There's a lot of paper in here. I guess when you shred a whole course preview, though, that there's going to be a lot of paper in here.
Have you Googled what happens to paper in your body, in your gut?
Yeah, I actually Googled it yesterday. There is a condition.
Yeah, people eat paper.
It's called something. I can't remember what it's called.
Paper eating dumb asses condition.
But anyway, I read a lot about eating paper, and apparently it's not very harmful to you. I'm a little worried about the ink and everything that was on there. But
I don't know why this made me think about it. Your pontificate this week. So if you're not subscribing to the Chalk Bomb, you definitely should. It's the best email that could come to your inbox every single week on a Wednesday. And it was full of information this week for the Masters. But part of the Chalk Bomb is just the very last section, and it is meant only to entertain. And it is Pontificate with Pat, where Pat just puts his thoughts on paper. And one of the ones that really got me laughing this week, and it may be what we have to do to you if the paper, doesn't react well, is you just have to hear Pat saying this. So when I read the Chalk Bomb, I always read it in Pat's voice. And I read it in Pat's voice, and I try to turn on the Pat side of my brain of how he would think or how he would look at this. So this is how. Every year we always get to see several old past champs teed up at the Masters. And that got me thinking about the phrase, put him out to pasture. Has such a negative connotation to it. I mean, I wouldn't mind being put out to pasture. Then I could just wander around and eat stuff all day with no care in the world. That doesn't really seem all that bad. Oh, that is such an old man thing to say.
I mean, it's true.
And then I laughed at, can anyone tell me what the hell the escape button actually does on a keyboard?
I still don't know. I wrote that because it popped in my head, and I started doing things trying to figure out what the escape button does. And I was like, all right, I'm on this internet page, or I was writing an article. I was like, I'm gonna hit escape. Is it gonna take me out of here? Is it gonna make me? Is it gonna escape back to the home page? It doesn't do anything.
I have one time that I use the escape button, and it is when I go to screenshot something on a Mac and I do it wrong, or I decide I don't want to screenshot it, and then you can hit escape to get out of it. That is literally the only time I use it.
Yeah, I feel like it's like traditionally been on a keyboard, and so they still keep it there. But
yeah,
because the escape button fans would freak out if their keyboard did not have an escape button on there, even though it may not have any use whatsoever. I'll give you a few takes here before Rory to me was interesting, because it's like he just flipped a switch all of a sudden on day 2, because he finished in the morning on Friday. He played Thursday afternoon, Friday morning with the
damn. It's like, geez, Rory, like flip the switch Wednesday night, Monday night.
And he even said it. They interviewed him twice, and both times he really alluded to the point that he comes into that tournament, and he admitted that he comes into the Masters feeling that pressure, which worries you a little bit, but then he takes it off of him after he shoots a damn 75 or whatever he shot, and then he's just lights out the rest of the way. That bothers me. And I love Rory. I want him to win this tournament so bad, but you got to play well on Thursday. He's got to, and he does this in more major, not just in the Masters. He does it a lot of times. So that's frustrating with me. And so hopefully he learned a little bit here with this one, and maybe we'll see what happens. Bryson, I agree, was disappointing. I can't say I didn't expect it, though. I mean, I kind of alluded to it on the podcast as well, but there's a chance that he comes into this tournament with all this hype and all this talk, and he's going to bomb it all over the place, that he's going to get himself in trouble off the tee and shoot some higher scores. And that's what he did. I mean, now I'll say this. I think his ownership was less than I thought it was going to be. And
yeah,
I may be more willing now. Yeah. I may be more willing now to play him in 2021 than I was this year, because I'm wondering what people will think. Well, the hype will go away a little bit, depending on what he does between now and then. And if he dominates between now and then it'll be right back where it was. But it'll be interesting to see what people's takes are on Bryson going into next year's Masters. But and going back to DJ, we talk about his personal mentality, that he kind of comes across as sort of dumb and whatever else, by the way he talks, some of the things he says, but he's very smart on the golf course. I mean, he hit his driver when he needed to and hit it well. He dialed it back when he needed to. He did all the things that you need to do that is smart golf. And so I think that should be, he needs to get credit for that for sure. And just because it was an easier course and all that kind of stuff, you can't really take much away from him. He dominated the field, and I'll be interested to see what the National does between now and 2021 with the course. I mean, obviously you can't, the weather was a factor, made it a lot softer, but the course to me just didn't look, it didn't have that spring feel to it anyway.
Well, no.
It looked,
how weird was it to
fluffier.
See brown grass?
Yeah.
That was so weird.
Fluffier. I don't know how to say it another way, but like there was, it just looked just too soft when just the visual effects of everything. And so I think it'll obviously play a lot harder in April, but we'll see. You get a lot of rain and may not.
Man. All right. Well, that's enough about the Masters. It was a good week. I was glad to have it. Better than nothing. Game day was cool. But damn, dude, I hope we have patrons in 2021. It just was not. It was not great. It was not great at all. It was very, very strange. Very, very strange. Yeah, but here we go. Yeah, hopefully the Masters figure something out. Hopefully they figure it out. Let's get into this, Pat. Are you you sucking down the rest of that smoothie, or you gonna pour the rest of that stuff in there? Or what are you gonna do?
My plan is to finish this whole cup here.
Okay. Smoothies are a good breakfast item, by the way, but I have discovered something recently, Pat. I think, in fact, we both have a new breakfast cereal. Yeah, me and you both cereal fans. Now, I have for the longest time tried not to eat a lot of cereal lately, as I've been, you got DB 2.0, right? I've been in the gym, been trying to get cut down a little bit, get in better shape. You eat cereal at night, probably at like 1 a.m. or like a bag of chips, because you're like this incredible late night snacker guy. But we've recently stumbled across Magic Spoon, and it's a new cereal that is actually healthy for you. It's legitimately a healthy cereal, which is hard to believe. I mean, even the cereals that are supposed to look healthy or be healthy are actually not when you get down and you start looking at it. Magic Spoon cereal, 0 grams of sugar, 11 grams of protein, probably as much as in your protein shake right there, and only 3 net grams of carbs per serving. They got 4 flavors: cocoa, they have fruity, frosted, and blueberry. I actually really enjoy the frosted flavor. I'm a big Frosted Flakes guy when I was, back in the day. But now I don't eat it because it's got too much sugar in it. Well, Magic Spoon has a frosted flavor that's delicious, tastes great. It's keto-friendly, gluten-free, grain-free, soy-free, low-carb, and GMO-free. It's just fantastic. I guess now, Pat, that, the world is starting to realize what a physical specimen I've turned myself into over the last year. Wow. Now we have sponsors coming out, that are health conscious, that are fitness conscious, and they say, hey, we want the Tour Junkies here, to help promote the product. So Magic Spoon has come out. We appreciate Magic Spoon supporting the show. You can go to magicspoon.com/Tour Junkies to grab a variety pack. Try it out today. Be sure to use promo code Tour Junkies at checkout. You get free shipping, and they're confident in the product, Pat. They are backed by a 100% happiness guarantee. So if you don't like it, they'll refund your money, and they say no questions asked. We're not saying no questions asked. They're saying no questions asked. That's magicspoon.com/Tour Junkies. Use promo code Tour Junkies when you check out for free shipping. Pat, what's your favorite Magic Spoon flavor? Cocoa, fruity, frosted, or blueberry?
I'm a blueberry fan. I like it. The frosted isn't bad, though.
I like frosted, yeah. Good stuff. Thanks to Magic Spoon. And that'll take us right into the course breakdown, the Magic course breakdown for the RSM Classic from St. Simon's Island at lovely Sea Island Resort, right down the street from you in Georgia on the Golden Coast. We were there last year, Pat, as members of the media. Not there this year because COVID just F's everything up, and we just felt like, you know what, who cares? We should be there, though. It's actually a really strong field. They got a lot of guys moving over from the Masters, probably the strongest field the RSM has seen in quite some time, I would guess.
Yeah, it's really good. Matter of fact, last year I got this fantastic shirt I'm wearing. It's an RSM Classic shirt. Rosé wine glasses all over it. You can't really see that, but anyway. So, yeah, we are at Sea Island Golf Club this week. And, like we talked about, I don't know if we had any of these type formats after the restart. Most of them we see in the
yeah, we did not.
The winter. But we got 2 golf courses this week. So they will play the Seaside course for 3 days if they make the cut, and they'll at least play 1 day on the Plantation course. We'll start with the Seaside course. It is a par 70 playing just over 7,000 yards. It is a Fazio design. It is Bermuda grass from tee to green, and pretty large greens out here and wide fairways. I mean, they really aren't that difficult to hit. But when you look at Seaside, I mean, it's kind of got that sort of links feel to it. There's it's open to all the elements. Wind can be a huge factor on this course. And right now I'm seeing a lot of wind. That could change, but I've seen anywhere from 15 to 20 mile per hour winds this week. So that could be interesting. So that one is definitely the harder of the 2 courses, but we still see a lot of scoring out here. But a lot of that scoring is going to come on the Plantation course, whichever day they get it, whether it's Thursday or Friday. It is a par 72. just over 7,000 yards, so not very long for a par 72. It's a Davis Love design. If you know anything about Davis Love, he's been in Sea Island for years. The whole family has, so they are just kind of a staple of Sea Island. It's Bermuda grass as well from tee to greens. You got 4 par 5s here. 3 of them are reachable in 2. So it's definitely important when you get on Plantation that you score a lot. And there's a lot of water on Plantation as well. I mean, it's tree lined. It's, back off the sea a little bit, so the wind won't be as much of a factor when they play Plantation. But it's still got that kind of classic harbor town type feel with tree lined fairways. It still should play pretty easy though. And so I think that when you're looking at just both courses this week, you look at the scores out here. I mean, we've had 19 under last year with Tyler Duncan, 19 under with Charles Howell, Austin Cook 21, Mackenzie Hughes 17, Kiz in 2015 was 22 under. So you got to score out here. We're going to see double digits win easily, like we just did actually the Masters. For me, I'm looking at form, as I always do, course history. I'm going to look at some putting on Bermuda. Approach is one of my favorite stats this week, as well as scrambling and opportunities gained. So there you go. By the way, we have 156 players this week in this field. So one of the bigger fields we've had in a while.
Yeah, I think the wind is definitely, look, you mentioned it. I mean, you're looking at it right now as of Monday night we're recording. It looks rather breezy out there for the boys on Sea Island, which I think definitely is going to make it play more difficult than average. Because you're right, normally it is a middle of the road to on the easier side of the 40-something, 50-something courses they play on the PGA Tour every year. But I definitely think if that wind kicks up like that, Sea Island can have some teeth. And that's one reason why the fairways and greens are wider, larger, easier to hit, because the wind is really the primary defense of the golf course, and the water obviously on Plantation as well, and some at Seaside. So, I'm looking for guys who are going to hit it in the center of the club face, right? Ball strikers, guys who are not going to be spraying it all over the yard, that can control their distances. And Bermuda is key here. The Bermuda grass here, the Bermuda greens here are extremely pure Bermuda. They are grainy. You got to be able to read them. You got to be able to putt on them. You got to be able to chip off of them. They are grainy Bermuda. So one of the things that we talked to Charles Howell about that we've not released yet, we're working on this right now. We're going to interview probably 2 or 3 caddies and 2 or 3 PGA Tour players, and we've already done a couple of them already. We're just putting them in the hopper. We're asking them all similar questions. And a lot of the questions are about DFS game theory or betting theory, about approaching golfers and handicapping golf tournaments every week. And questions that we all ask ourselves every single week when we're trying to handicap an event. Does this mean anything? Is this signal? Is this noise? Am I overthinking this? Am I not thinking about this enough? Blah, blah, blah. We're going to ask all these guys the same questions and get their answers and compile it. It's going to be really great. But we talked to Charles Howell about, putting surfaces. And he said, yeah, it's a huge deal. And it is not something you should ignore. And especially on surfaces like Bermuda and POA. And he talked about not all Bermuda surfaces are created equal. One of the ones he talked about was the Players Championship, because we were talking about Siwoo Kim. And I was like, dude, Siwoo Kim, horrible Bermuda stats everywhere else you look, but he won the Players Championship. And Charles said, well, the stuff at the Players Championship is not really true Bermuda. Like, it's not as grainy. They cut it really short. It almost behaves like a bent grass. But here at the RSM Classic, it is a grainy, pure Bermuda. So I think you got to have guys comfortable here. Obviously, you've got the Sea Island Mafia narrative. A ton of guys that either live here, practice out of here, have had a second home here. But there's other angles. You have the Jones Cup, which is an amateur event. The SEC Championship's been played here a bunch. There's a bunch of names here that have competed and won in those. There's a ton of guys here with a lot of familiarity on Sea Island. But at the end of the day, if the wind's doing what it's doing, you got to have guys that are pure iron players, pure wedge ball strikers that are going to control their distances, flight the ball, and then are very comfortable on Bermuda. And I think we get back to long shot season this week, buddy. I think we get back to long shot season. DJ obviously, ended up being the favorite by the time the Masters ended up kicking off on Thursday, tied with Bryson. But Tyler Duncan last year won at 200-1. The year Charles Howell won, we were all over him. Ended up giving away my putter because he won. He was at 80 to 1. Austin Cook the year before that was at 90 to 1. Mackenzie Hughes was at 150 to 1. Robert Streb back in 2014 was like 200 something to 1. So there's a lot of, even though the field is stronger, we could see a long shot, play well here. I think greens and regulation is a huge deal as well. So approach play, greens and reg, comfortable on Bermuda. Those are all keys for me. And of course, all the stats brought to you by our friends at Fantasy National Golf Club. You can go to fantasynational.com/TJ, get yourself 20% off the weekly, monthly, or annual subscription. Pat, let's get into this. DFS, we're going to give you 3 names over 9K that we like in tournaments, a name we like in cash, and a fade. I'm going to try to make this snappy. I'm going to fade a guy who, in the wind, is probably pretty good. Low ball hitter, a lot of upside, and I actually believe he's a good value. But I'm not going to play him, despite those things. I'm not playing Joaquin Niemann. He's 141st in this field in strokes gained around the green on Bermuda. I think this is one of those weeks where if you look at around the green play and you look at putting, they need to be off Bermuda because it is a different ball game, chipping and putting, or obviously we talked about putting, but chipping off of Bermuda is different too, especially here at Sea Island. He's 141st in chipping around the green. He's 120th in putting on Bermuda over the last 50 rounds. He's 88th in fairways gained over the last 24 rounds. And he played here last year, finished tied for 65th. Nothing great. And he's coming off of COVID. And I hate that he missed the Masters because of COVID. But I think, we've seen a little bit of a mixed bag when players come off of a COVID thing. Obviously, DJ just won. Well, I guess he played Houston, played pretty well. But we've seen other players struggle coming off of COVID. I'm going to fade Joaquin Niemann here. I think the cash play is, I think you go a couple different ways here, but I'm going Harris English. Now, his tournament history here, not that great, but he has a lot of Sea Island ties and University of Georgia boy. But I went back and looked, and coming into this golf tournament over the last few years, he has looked like a totally different player. As good as Harris English is playing right now, I just see better things for him this year at the RSM Classic, so much so that I think he's a lock in cash. Love him in tournaments as well, but he's a lock in cash. 4th at the U.S. Open most recently, 10th at the CJ Cup. Not a bad showing at the Zozo with a T28 either, but he's had a phenomenal season since the restart, checking a lot of boxes. Putts well on Bermuda, 9700 for Harris English. I love it. In tournaments, I am going to go ahead and play Webb Simpson. No reason not to. Runner-up here last year to Tyler Duncan, lost in a playoff, finished 3rd the year before. What can you say about how good Webb's played as well? Another great finish at the Masters, a T10 at the Masters, T8 at the U.S. Open a few weeks back. Putts and chips on Bermuda like nobody's business. Hits a ton of fairways and greens in regulation. Scores on par 4s. Love Webb here, and I'm going to play him at 11-2, no problemo. I'm going to eat a little bit of chalk here, too, and go with Russell Henley. Ball striking, Bermuda play, form, history is good. Now, he's missed the cut here the last 2 years, but again, if you go back and look at how he looked leading up to the RSM Classic, he's looking like the ball striker, that would not come here and trunk slam. He's just playing so good. Now, the price is up there a little bit. 10-1 seems a little high for Russell Henley. I'm wondering if that will throw some people off, but I like him. I like him here. I like the way the ball striking is going right now. I'm going to continue to play the hot form Russell Henley. And then I'm going to drop down. My last tournament play is going to be Sebastian Munoz, who you talked about last week, finished 19th at the Masters. This guy's had another amazing, I feel like saying season since the restart because that's what it feels like. But he's just played so well. Finished 3rd here last year after missing the cut the first couple times. Checks the box in Bermuda scoring Bermuda putting and chipping right now. Hits enough fairways. He's not super accurate, but he hits plenty of fairways. He's got a little bit of distance here too. But his iron play, 21st in strokes gained approach over the last 24 rounds. Greens and reg is good. And I love the value at 9K. So I'm going to go Sebastian Munoz. That's my 9K range.
All right. Well, I'll start there then, since you have him. I actually like him in cash, so I think I could
I don't
play him
mind
in
that.
tournaments as well. But I think in cash, you're getting down to some good value there at 9,000. Finished third here last year, so I like Sebastian Munoz there. My fade's actually Henley. I don't really like the price.
Yeah, the
I don't like
price the price does make me kind of go, ugh.
I don't like really the two missed cuts in a row, but I hear you. I think that is,
Yeah, I don't
as
care
far
about
as
that
like
as much.
his play going into the event. He's 87th in the field in strokes gained putting over his last 100 rounds on Bermuda. Everywhere else, though, he does check a lot of boxes. I mean, other than par 5 scoring,
Yeah.
which you really can only look at par 5 scoring on Plantation, not necessarily the other course. I don't think it matters as much. But I wonder, like you, like where his ownership is going to be. But if I get a high owned, which I think he might be, Henley, I think I want to fade that.
Yeah, I mean, if I get like a 20, I think like an 18 to 20 or more projected ownership on Henley and DFS at 10-1 is probably if you're going by the book, I think it's a fade. If that happens, I'll probably be with you. But I do like him. I mean, it'll be like
his
it'll just
form
be
is good.
where I'm playing the percentage here. Like, whereas like with Webb, I don't care what his ownership is. Like, I'm going to go ahead and play Webb. I also feel like maybe I'm a little butthurt from missing out on chalk DJ last week. That I'm like, oh, I'm going to play the chalk even if they're chalk. If I love them, I'm playing them. But I definitely feel better about doing that with Webb than I do Russell.
Yeah, I mean, Webb was my other GPP play that I have. I like him a lot, and I like Sung J M too. I like literally the top two guys right there. Sung J at 11,000, Webb at 11,200. I'm okay with playing them both. I like them both in tournaments. So I will. Those are two of my favorite GPP plays, and then my other one is Shane Lowry at 9,200. Started off kind of like your Corey Connors and Rory and everybody else, with not a great week, but ended up, finishing okay. He was, hang on, I don't know if paper does this to you or what, but I got like this cramp in my thigh here. Oh,
he finished 25th at the Masters.
Anyway, but is in pretty good form heading in, to this week. And, obviously has won an Open Championship, a course that's going to be known for wind and weather and all that kind of stuff. And, a similar type course. So I think Shane Lowry could be a good play down there at 9,200. So I like him. An excellent ball striker. He's not going to show up putting on Bermuda. So I get that, but, 6 in the field in greens and regulation, top 20 in approach, top 20 in ball striking. So I like Shane Lowry there at 9,200. So there you go. Webb, M, and Lowry are my GPP plays. Munoz is my cash play, and Henley will be my fade.
See, I don't know, man. Like, I don't think you have enough. You don't have enough Southern boys down there that like know this grainy Bermuda mess. You're going with Sung Jae, South Korea. You're going with Ireland, Shane Lowry. You're fading the Southern boy, Russell Henley. Like, I feel like you got to have – this is some grainy-ass Southern Bermuda, man. You know how it is. We play on this stuff. It is brutal.
No, I hear you. Those are the guys I like. I'm not necessarily – I don't care if they're from the South. But
all right, hit me with I started with the 9K range. You start with the 8K. 2 tournament plays, a cash play, and a fade.
All right, I'm gonna do the 8K, and then I gotta go get a beer because the paper and everything's going crazy in my system here, and I need to figure something out. All right, so I will start with near the bottom here. My cash play. Actually, I say near the bottom. It is on the bottom, and that is Zach Johnson at 8,000. I think now he's not a Southern boy, but he's a local Sea Island guy.
Yeah,
a guy that we've seen play really well recently. Great ball striker. He's 4th in the field in approach. He's number 1 in the field in greens and regulation. Putts fairly well in Bermuda. I mean, he's not in the top 25% of the field, but he's up there. So I like Zach Johnson there at 8,000 as a cash play. I think he's pretty safe. I like Ian Poulter at 8,300. another guy, and I'm bringing up another Euro, but he's another guy we've seen play really well on courses like this because he hasn't played here all that much. I think it was 4 years ago that he played here, and he finished T36 in 2017. But we've seen him do well on courses like Harbor Town, that kind of stuff. And so I think Poulter could be an interesting GPP play. I don't know if a whole lot of people will play him, but he finished, he had that injury scare going into the Masters, still had a top 25 finish there. He was T12 at the CJ Cup. So I think Ian Poulter's interesting to me. I mean, he's not going to jump off the page at you stats-wise, but I don't care. I'll play him. And then my other GPP play, so you'll notice a lot of these guys are in the low 8,000 range, which I think you're going to have to go to, especially if you're going to play guys like Webb and Sungjae, that I like them both. And that's Mackenzie Hughes, somebody that we've seen obviously win here before. Another, as far, great scrambler, good putter on Bermuda. He's in great recent form. You look at his last few events, he's finished, T7 at the Houston Open.
Recent form is a.
Well, I don't want to say great, but he finished
yeah.
top 10 at the Houston Open. I think he's just going to be kind of one of those under the radar past champions here that nobody's even going to look at in this $8,000 range when you got guys like Justin Rose, Kokrak, who everybody was on, Connors. I mean, a lot of people can take the I think those are great plays, especially Connors, but I'm not just going to give you the names that we always talk about. So I think Mackenzie Hughes at 8,100 is interesting. My fade is going to be at the top here, Mr. Dylan Fratelli at 8,800. I think that, I could just see a letdown week for him. I could also see him being pretty high owned in this range. So I will fade Mr. Fratelli. There you go.
Well, my fade is also Mr. Fratelli. He is 116th in strokes gained putting on Bermuda over the last 50 rounds, 103rd in fairways gained over the last 24, 109th in approach play over the last 24. I think he comes off of a little bit of a letdown after his week at Augusta. The price increase probably based off the week in Augusta at 8,800. So I think I am with you there with Fratelli. Now, I guess in these top two tiers, I am going to eat some chalk. Maybe again, this is because I'm scared after what happened to me last week when I missed out on the chalk with DJ. So maybe this is just pure recency bias and fear from me. But in the top two tiers, there's so many good names. I think there's a lot of good names in the 7K and 6K that I really, really like this week. And I can easily pivot if a couple of them are a little higher owned than others in DFS. So I can play who I want to play in the 9K and 8K range, regardless of ownership. And then there's enough guys I like in the 7K and 6K that I can pivot. So, I mean, my cash play and one of my tournament plays is our boy Kiz, who I just don't pick all that often. So despite him being, a friend of ours and a friend of the podcast, a multi-time guest of the podcast, like I don't play him a lot. I try to actually find reasons not to play Kiz. But I'm going to play Kiz here. Obviously, I love the history at the RSM Classic, former winner back in 2016. He's been a little boomer bust here, but I do love where the ball striking is right now. He's in the last 24 rounds. He's 8th in this field in strokes gained approach. He's scoring on par fours. Obviously, he's very familiar with this Bermuda. And I think he comes in good form. The Masters is not a spot for Kiz. I wish it was. It'd be great, him being a local guy. But the Masters is never a spot for Kiz. Kiz has told us that he's basically said, like, it would be damn near impossible for me to win the Masters. It's such a long golf course for him. So I don't put too much stock into his Masters finish right now, but he's had a decent restart, and I love the upside and the price for Kisner at 8,600. I mean, I would honestly rather have Kiz than a lot of people priced higher than him. I mean, here at Sea Island, like I would rather have him definitely above anybody in the 8K range. I'd rather have him over Neiman. I'd rather have him over Lowry. I'd rather have him over Day. I'd probably rather have him over a Fitzpatrick. maybe. Yeah. So I think he's a good play here, a safe play here. And then I'm going to go with the other, what I think is going to be a chalky play in this range as well, and Brian Harman, little cockbite. I'm going to go with Brian Harman. Love the form. He's played great since the restart. He's been making cuts. He's been, making top 25s, top 30s, a few top 10 or, top 15s, if you will. Bermuda guy, checks a lot of boxes in terms of accuracy there, fairways, stuff like that. 14th here last year, 32nd the year before that, 4th in 2018. He's confident. He's playing good. This is a good spot for Brian Harman. I like him at 8,500. So those are my two tournament plays.
Oh, man.
Yeah. You good? You got your paper situation worked out?
Things are not happening well in the internal system, but we're getting through it.
Nice. Sweet. All right. Let's move here. Let's move quickly. 7K range, a fade, a cash play, 3 tournament plays. My fade is going to be Brendan Todd, who, should be. Yeah.
I'm just kidding. I like Brendan Todd. But.
Yeah, love Brendan Todd as a guy. Good guy. Should be a good fit here. He is a good fit here. I don't love a lot of things. I don't love the price in the top part of the 7K range. I don't love the recent form. He's not checking a lot of boxes. Even the boxes that Brendan Todd is supposed to check, he's not really checking them at the moment. The spotty course history here and the approach play really over the last 24 rounds, not great. So I think I'm going to avoid Brendan Todd. A cash play for me, and I think also a safe tournament play if you want to pull the trigger on Denny McCarthy at 7,700, I think is for sure something to look at. He's gotten increasingly better here at Sea Island in his 3 attempts. Started with a missed cut his first time out, finished 8th last year. He's coming off a 4th place finish at the Bermuda, a 6th place finish at the Sanderson Farms, a bunch of made cuts since the restart. Checks the box in Bermuda, checks the box in fairways, makes a lot of greens in regulation for Denny. He is the second best putter in this field in strokes gained putting on Bermuda over the last 50 rounds. That means a lot to me this week. So I think Denny is your safest play in terms of cash. I'm going to go with Denny. I will. You know what? I'm gonna jump down unofficially. I like Sam Burns as well. I think Sam Burns could be a chalky play, so I'm going to avoid him officially. But unofficially, I need to let people know I like him. I like Austin Cook. Winner here just a couple of years ago. Hits a lot of fairways, hits a lot of greens in regulation. We just saw him finish runner-up at the Shriners. Follow that up with a T24 in Houston on a course that probably didn't suit him all that well. His Bermuda stats, not great, but he's familiar enough. He pulled it off here in 2018, I guess it was. And then he had a T11 in 2019. It was no fluke. 61st last year. I didn't love that, but I like Austin Cook with the form he's coming in with. I think he's a solid play. And then dropping down, I'm going to go with a ball striker and a horrible putter. And I've been riding him a lot in the offseason. And that's Emiliano Grillo making his tournament debut. But you look at that forecast, you look at those wind conditions, give me Emiliano Grillo, who just hits it in the center so much. Second in the field in strokes gained approach in the last 24, 5th in greens in regulation, checks a box in strokes gained par 4 scoring. Hasn't played here, but I mean, he's a terrible putter, period, like in all surfaces. But Bermuda's not his worst surface. Poa is actually his worst if you look historically. But actually, if you look over the last 50 rounds, he's actually gaining strokes with Bermuda. So I think Grillo at 7,200 gives you some upside that, in windy conditions, I really, really like Emiliano Grillo. And then I'm going to go with my boy, Henrik Norlander. Norlander, fellow Champions Retreat member. 5th here last year. Runner-up in 2017, very familiar with the Bermuda surfaces, great ball striker. Again, windy conditions. This could all change, like maybe some of my total love and adoration for some of these guys may be lowered a little bit if if the wind dies down and it's looking more like it could just be a scoring fest with like Tyler Duncan saw last year at 19 under. But if the wind kicks up, I see this thing being more like a 14, 15 under, and you just got to hit these greens, and then the putts will fall. So I like Norlander there. So Norlander, Cook, and Grillo for me in tournaments. McCarthy and Cash. Todd is my fade.
All right, so I got a few different guys that I can throw in here, but I'll start with my fade, which is also Brendan Todd. I mean, he's just not in great. But
okay.
First off, it's personal with me for him. Just if anybody was in the Nut Hut, there was a little bet made between me and David and Ben, and I thought that he would do better than Corey Connors, and he failed miserably. But I just don't like his play recently, and I'll be interested to see where his ownership is, but Brendan Todd is a fade for me there. I like Sam Burns. He was one of my GPP plays. I think ownership could be higher on him, but I'm still fine with that. I'll eat the chalk there. I mean, you look at his stats. I mean, he's number one in the field in ball striking, 11th in par 5 scoring, 4th in greens and regulation. He's 4th in putting on Bermuda over his last 100 rounds. So
I like it.
Everything about him looks really good, which is, so if he's chalk, that's fine. I still think you can play him. Above him, though, at 7,900, Taylor Gooch interests me a little bit. He's another guy coming in great recent form, has 2 top 5s in his last 3 events. Great around the greens. He doesn't necessarily, he's in the top half of the field putting on Bermuda. But I think Gooch could be an interesting, maybe a little bit lower owned play when he's sandwiched right there between a Zach Johnson, who we know has a lot of experience here, a CT Pan.
Gooch sandwich?
The Gooch sandwich, CT Pan's right beneath him, which everybody's going to want to love. Play CT Pan after last week.
I don't know. Are they? Ugh.
We'll see. He has a good finish, though. CT Pan's played well here. I think his 1 star. I think he was top 15 or something. No, he started 3 times. He has a T13, a T6, and a missed cut. So it's pretty good. So I like Taylor Gooch. I like Aaron Wise at 7,400, a guy that's sort of a forgotten man on tour. And I think that, if you look at his game, it is coming around. I mean, he's literally in the top 3rd in the field in ball striking, approach, scrambling, greens and regulation. He's 12th in the field. Doesn't putt historically that great on Bermuda, but he's been playing really well lately. I mean, you look at his finishes. He was, 11th at the Houston Open. He was 26th at the Bermuda. Can't even talk because of this paper at the Bermuda. So I think Aaron Wise is trending in a good direction. So I like him as a low-owned tournament play because nobody's going to play him. He's going to be super low-owned. And I like HV3 in cash at 7,400. I'm kind of surprised you didn't mention HV3. I think he's another guy that could have a fantastic week that I think is just, he finished 15th at the Houston Open. He can score like crazy. He's got to avoid some of the bigger numbers, but if I kind of run my model, which I don't really run specific models, but he literally is number 1 in the field when you look at everything outside of Bermuda putting. That's about the only thing that he's not going to check the box in, but everything else he's literally top 15 in the field. So I like Harold Varner III.
Yeah, I had him written down. I mean, as a possible name, he checks some boxes. He's not great on grainy Bermuda, but could that be overcome? Yes, I think it could. A couple names in here just to note that appeared in that Jones Cup that we talked about, which is an amateur event, as well as the SEC conference play and played well. You mentioned Sam Burns. We both like him. Jones Cup in 2017, he finished 8th in the Jones Cup. In 2017, he also finished 9th in the SEC individual results. You got Will Gordon, who we like to affectionately call Taco Supreme in the Nut Hut for various reasons. Will Gordon's played quite well here as well in the Jones Cup in 2018, finished 15th. In 2019, finished 3rd in the SEC individual. Matthew Naismith, a guy that we both kind of like. He's a South Carolina boy, Gamecock, grew up right around the street from us here in Aiken. He's played really well here at the Jones Cup a couple of years, as well as SEC play. So, there's some good players here with local ties that have competed, maybe not on a PGA Tour level, but have plenty of familiarity with this golf course and may feel comfortable here and feel like this is a tournament that, they get a spot in that they need to take advantage of with only this and one other event before, everything kind of comes to a close and we move on to Hawaii. So if they want some FedEx Cup points, these young guns that have experience around Sea Island, this is kind of the week to make that happen.
Yeah, no, I'm with you there for sure.
All right, well, hit me with your 6K plays. Let's move on.
All right, well, I'll start near the top again here, and that is Patton Kizzire at 6,800. I think he's a good play. Now, he is a local guy. He's a Sea Island Southern boy. He's made the cut the last 3 times he's played here. But he's been trending in the right direction also. I mean, you look at his past few events, he finished 11th at the Houston Open. He finished top 25 at the Shriners. So he's starting to kind of come around with a better game. We saw him, in the past, when he's won on tour, it seems to be in the fall for some reason. I don't know why that is, but for him, he's played well in the fall.
Yeah.
So I like Kizzire at 6,800.
Weaker fields.
Well, for sure. And this isn't necessarily a weaker field, but in this 6K range, there are a ton of guys. There's several kind of Corn Ferry Tour guys, and so are traditionally Corn Ferry guys. But I think Kizzire can score. He's top 10 in the field on putting on Bermuda, so he's obviously used to that and comfortable with putting on Bermuda. So I like him. Another guy that I just think, I don't know why he just pops at certain times for me, but that's Richie Werenski. He puts well on Bermuda.
Yeah, I looked at that. He's a big time Bermuda guy.
Yeah, I think he could be a guy that could be good this week at 6,700. And then, well, you go with yours. I got one more guy, but I'm going to wait for him. So you go.
All right, I got a few. I'm going to start with a not Southern guy up at the top, and that's James Hahn. I love me some James Hahn usually when he's in the field, but he's at $6,900. I mean, the form is so good out of him with 3 top 10s in his last 4 events. The Shriners, Corrales, and Safeway. Not a great Bermuda guy, but not one of the worst. But he hits a lot of fairways. He hits a lot of greens in regulation, and decent. He's got experience here. It's not great, but a miscut last year, 17th in 2015 was the last time he played. But I like the form coming in. That's what I really like about Hahn, and the upside. He's a PGA Tour winner. I like a guy at 6,900 like that, comes in with a lot of form and a lot of upside, hitting the ball well, striking it well. I like James Hahn. I don't even want to say this name because what's going to happen is I like Doug Gim, okay? F it. I like Doug Gim, who burned me at the Bermuda when you were all over him and I made fun of you, and he finished 14th, and I had egg on my face. But give me some Doug Gim this week. He will probably trunk slam like a punk.
Can I just say this while I'm eating my paper smoothie here?
Sure.
The only reason I only mentioned 2 and went to let you go was hoping that you were going to say Doug Gim.
Well, here you go. But he is definitely checking some boxes from the ball striking standpoint. Not as good on Bermuda, but ball striking is good. And 2 14th place finishes and a 23rd in his last 5 events shows me that Doug. God, I just hate his name. Maybe it's his name. Who names a guy born what is Doug Gim? Probably like 24, 25?
Yeah, he's not very old.
Who names a guy in the last 25 years Doug? Or Douglas? I don't even know. I think that's my hang up with him actually, is I hate his name. Well, he looks like an Aaron. He just needs to be like an Aaron Gim. You know what I mean? If he were Aaron Gim, I'd probably play him a lot more. I can't take Doug. It's just very weird.
You're offending all the Dougs out there right now.
No offense if you're no. I'm offending Dougs under the age of 25. Like if you're a 35-year-old Doug, I get it. A 25-year-old Doug, I don't understand that whatsoever. Now I'm going to drop down to the low 6K. Michael Gligic, my boy, Gligic. I've been on him a lot. He's played well in these weak field events. His recent form is solid. Checks the box in Bermuda. That's his best surface. He's a little bit longer, but checks a lot of boxes, greens and regulation. Iron plays good. 6,400. I think he's a good value. Your doppelganger, Hank Lebioda, has a great record here. 32nd and a 30th place finish in the last 2 years. He likes this place. He's also got where is it? Yeah, he's got a Jones Cup and he's got a Jones Cup record here. 3rd place in 2015 at the Amateur Jones Cup event, 19th in 2016. So he's familiar with this golf course. I like Hank Lebioda here, and he comes in, haven't had a decent finish. 16th at Bermuda, 21st at Corrales. Don't mind that whatsoever. Davis Thompson.
Georgia boy.
Is the number 1 amateur in the world, Georgia boy, coming in with his, I believe, second start at the RSM Classic, where he finished 23rd last year at this event. Very familiar with Sea Island. He is a total stud. Won first place this year in the Jones Cup at Sea Island. Won 15th in 2018 as a freaking really young kid. I like Davis Thompson. He's got some familiarity. $6,300, and I think he honestly gives you top 20 upside, which that's tough to beat. One other name that I think you need to pay attention to is a guy who's been on the podcast before, and a buddy of ours texted about him tonight, not to you, but to me. Joey Garber shot a 7 under today, I believe 63 in the Monday qualifier for this event. He lives here on Sea Island, practices here, plays here. Joey Garber, very familiar with Sea Island. He's not in the DraftKings field as of Monday night, but I think he will be added. So depending on his price, he had his PGA Tour card for a minute, lost it. He's been struggling here lately, but fires a 63 in the Monday queue, comes to a course he's familiar with. If he's like 64, 6,300 or below, I think he is an interesting play as well that offers a little bit of upside. Georgia boy, long hair. Well, went to University of Georgia from Michigan. An incredible head of hair on him, Mr. Joey Garber.
Okay. Yeah, I don't mind that. Another guy I'll throw out there too, we've seen play, have some decent starts lately, is David Hearn at 6,600. He was T8 just a couple weeks ago at Bermuda. He did miss the cut at the Houston Open, but he's another guy that has great course history here. I mean, you look at it, he hasn't finished outside the top 30 in the last 5 years playing here, with 3 of those being in the top 20. So I think Hearn could be another just, interesting play here. He's gained 25 strokes on the field over the last 5 years in this tournament. So I'll throw him out there, and I'm also with you on Doug Gim. So there you go.
I can't believe it.
Old Doug. He's a good guy.
All right, let's kick it over to the sports book plays that are getting our attention here for the RSM Classic, lovely Sea Island, Georgia, the Gold Coast. I'm going to kick it over. I'm going to start with a number on PointsBet. By the way, if you want to sign up for PointsBet and you're in a legal state, I believe New Jersey, Indiana, Illinois, maybe Colorado, Tennessee. I don't know. I can't keep up. TJ 250 gives you a deposit bonus there. You check that out on PointsBet. Really fun game over there, but they have the traditional golf bets as well. Harris English is at 28-1. That is probably the shortest that I will look to go for the RSM Classic is Harris English. Love the iron play. And, I talked about this earlier, just I realize his record here at the RSM is not great, but he does come into this year's event in form that we've not seen out of Harris English, maybe ever. So he comes in playing as good as he's ever played at a course he's very familiar with, and 28-1 is what I like. Another player who also arrives in great form, better form than he's come into in years past at this event, is Russell Henley at 30-1. So I like Russell Henley here at 30-1. Harris English at 28. Those are the shorter numbers. And Brian Harman and Kevin Kisner. I guess I'll say that too. They're 40. They're shortish, 45-1. Well, both short in stature, but also short in terms of the odds this week. 45-1 for both Harman and Kiz. Kiz, previous winner here. Both Georgia guys, very familiar, very good on these grainy Bermuda greens and around the greens. So 45-1. Those are on DraftKings right now. Those are the better numbers on DraftKings if you want to grab those. I think those are going to get shorter. I mean, I could see Kiz and Harman ending the week, similar to, Poulter's number, Lowry's number, Kokrak's number, who's all 35-1. I think Harman and Kisner I would take above all those guys, and should be a little shorter, and I think will get shorter before the week is over.
Well, if one of the shorter guys I like, not in stature, but as far as odds are concerned, and that's Sungjae Im. I mean, he's 22-1 on DraftKings. He's 20-1 on PointsBet. So I think Sungjae Im, again, I mean, he showed you last week what he could do, and he's just the guy doesn't miss fairways and is just an incredible scrambler. So I like Sungjae Im at 22-1. I mentioned Shane Lowry.
He's great on Bermuda. Loves Bermuda.
I mentioned Shane Lowry. I like him at 35-1 on the shorter end. I don't mind the Kiz and Harman plays, but you're still getting a guy like Munoz at 45-1. I mean, but he's just. I mean, I think that's a good number. Why would you not
take the same money that you would spend on Munoz and put it on a guy like Kiz? He's just as good as Munoz, has the same winning upside, if not more. Has won here before. I don't like the value on Munoz at 45-1. I know he's playing well. He is playing well.
I actually think he's got a better chance to win than Kiz does.
No.
Kiz has not played near as good as Sebastian has in the last like for a while.
Okay, but Kit, it's not like he's been playing terrible, but he comes to a course that is better suited for his game, which Munoz is a longer hitter, so most of the tournaments he plays are going to be ideal for him. I mean, don't forget, dude, since the restart, Kiz has had 2 third-place finishes and a 4th. Like, he's had high finishes. One of them was at the Wyndham, which is, to me, kind of a similar event as here, or course layout. 19th at the PGA Championship. I mean, 25th at the St. Jude. That's a tough field. I mean, it's not a 25th at the BMW at Olympia Field. It's a tough golf course. 14th at the Zozo. I mean, what are you talking about? Like, Kiz has played very, very well. I agree Sebastian Munoz has played very well. But Kiz has still had a great, since the restart, he's been solid. He's been a little boom or bust. I mean, but boom or bust.
I don't think this is like something I'm not gonna get into an argument, to be honest. I really don't have to care.
I'm trying to get you into an argument. Why won't you argue with me?
Because I'm not going to do it. I mean, I think Munoz is a better player than Kiz, but I'm not going to sit there and
Whoa, you think he's a better player? I
don't think he's a better player. I think he's a better play than Kiz is this week. But I mean, I'm not going to sit there and argue about it. Whatever.
And I'm not denying Munoz's form. I'm not denying his form. His form is fantastic. I'm not denying that. I'm just saying, I mean, Kiz's experience here, his familiarity with this golf course, lived here for a time, gets instruction here from time to time, knows this place very well. Bermuda, he knows, and I know Munoz is good on Bermuda, but Kiz knows this grainy Bermuda as good as anybody. And I think the floor is higher for Kiz, and I think the upside is higher for Kiz.
I don't care about the floor in my betting. I just care about the upside. I think Munoz.
I think the upside is higher. I actually still think it's higher than Munoz, despite how good Munoz is playing.
Okay. Anyway, another guy I like is Sam Burns, who I mentioned, in the DFS portion. I like him at 60-1. I just crossed my mind too. Is he won on the Web.com tour the Savannah Golf Championship, right around the corner from me, on a very similar course to what they're going to be playing.
Coastal, yeah.
So, I mean, I think Burns is just such a great fit this week. So I like him at 60-1.
Yeah, I like that.
I like, I mentioned HV3. He's at 70 to 1. I just feel like that kid has got to
When is he going to
win.
freaking win a golf tournament, though?
I know.
Like, he's got to win one, man.
And it could come this week. So,
He has to win a golf tournament.
Yeah. I think Denny McCarthy at 85 to 1 is a very interesting number. Like, in any other field, like you take out some of these top names that they got this week, he's way shorter than that.
If this were your normal RSM field, Denny is much shorter.
Yeah.
I get that you're getting a lot of good players, but I do like the number at 85 to 1. I think that number, I mean, maybe by the time people are even listening to this on Tuesday or Wednesday, that number is going to be shorter.
Yeah. A couple more here, going a little bit longer. I think Russell Knox is interesting at 100 to 1. We've seen him play pretty well recently. Kind of traditionally, we know him as a good win player. So I like him as well. And then going a little bit longer,
added
Wyndham
some length.
Clark. Yeah, he did. Wyndham Clark at 150 to 1.
Boom.
I mean, we just saw him almost win a tournament. Now, he's going to be spotty, but that's why he's 150 to 1. But I still think that, he could be one of those guys that just pops based off just the, having a chance a few weeks ago. And, Bermuda was playing, if I remember, wasn't it? I mean, I know it was a coastal course, but wasn't it pretty windy, or was it not that? Or am I thinking
it wasn't terrible, but I just don't like it when a guy like that, like the thing that they do best, or at least one of the things that they do best, is kind of neutralized. And for him, that's distance. Now, Wyndham Clark is a great putter. He's actually a lot of people don't understand how good of a putter Wyndham Clark is. He putts well. He hits it a long way. That's what he does. And I just don't love that that's a little bit neutralized here. But yeah, I mean, he should have won, honestly, at Bermuda, not Brian Gay and his self. He should not have won, but he didn't. Okay. Anybody else?
That's it.
Okay.
Anybody else for you?
Yeah. I haven't gotten into my longer shot, guys. Well, I had McCarthy written down. Love that. I had Knox written down, 100 to 1, like that. A couple other 100 to 1 names that I like, and I mentioned them both in the DFS show, but or segment. Austin Cook at 100 to 1 is a defending champion. I like, arriving in good form, having a couple good finishes here over the last 5 or 6 events. Accurate player, greens and reg. I like Austin Cook at 100 to 1. And I love Henrik Norlander at 100 to 1. I think you're getting him at the longest number he's going to be at this week. I think that number is going to shorten, especially if the wind continues to stay or project to stay up. Henrik Norlander is one of the best ball strikers on the PGA Tour, and a lot of different people would tell you that. He's a great iron player, accurate off the tee, very familiar with Sea Island. And I think if Henrik's looking at this forecast, he's licking his chops. He's one of the guys at Sea Island right now, looking at the forecast going, yeah, come on, bring the wind, because that plays into what he does best. And that is ball striking. He's not a great putter, not a great chipper. He's a ball striker. So I love Norlander at 100 to 1. And then a couple names, 2 or 3 names I mentioned earlier. I like James Hahn at 150 to 1. I love the winning upside for James Hahn. I mean, you guys realize James Hahn has won PGA Tour events. He's competed in PGA Tour, like nearly lost PGA Tour events over the years. He's a grizzled veteran, not known for his Bermuda play, but it's not awful. There are definitely worse Bermuda players. And he comes in with 3 top 10s in his last 4 events. I love that about James Hahn. And guys like him are these guys that arrive at tournaments like this with 2 events left in this, fall season to rack up FedEx Cup points. They're motivated. They're ready to go. This thing means a lot. So I like him at 150 to 1. You mentioned David Hearn in the DFS segment. I like David Hearn at 250 to 1. Another guy who's contended down the stretch on a Sunday late in PGA Tour events, grizzled veteran. I think if he can get there late on a Sunday, he's not going to collapse. And then finally, big time long shot, 300-1, Hank Lebioda. You know, two decent finishes here. A lot of familiarity here, showing up in the Jones Cup Amateur event and just the Jones Cup Amateur event. Played well there. Great golf course for him. Very familiar with it. 300-1's a big number for a guy with that much familiarity with the golf course and recent history or course history here. And form's not bad either. Now, I do like a couple top 20s. Do you have any top 20s, top 10s?
No, right now I just looked at some of the outrights. So,
all right,
you go.
Four guys at 14-1. I like long shots for his top 20 thing. I'm not going to freaking give you a 6-1 top 20 name. 14-1, Davis Thompson, number 1 ranked amateur in the world. Georgia boy, won the Jones Cup this year here at this golf course. Very familiar with this course. 14-1. Nick Watney, Sea Island practices here or gets coaching here. Nick Watney, he's a California guy, but very familiar with Sea Island. 14-1. JJ Spawn, 14-1, has had a good finish here at the RSM Classic. Well-known ball striker. Love him in windy conditions. Also just had a baby. Nappy factor for JJ Spawn, 14-1. And another name that is somewhat familiar with this golf course due to Jones Cup stuff, and that is Chase Seifert, who played in the amateur event here back in the day. And you know, decent player, young player coming up on the PGA Tour. He's at 14-1. And then 10-1, Hank Lebioda, who I just mentioned, and Michael Gligic at 10-1. Gligic's had some really strong finishes here lately and in good form. I like him as well for top 20s. So there you go. That's the Sportsbook preview. That's all I got, Pat. You got anything else? You good?
No, I'm good. Still got a little bit left of my smoothie, but
finish that bad boy up. We need all the course preview digested, rolling around in the old gut. You know what I mean? And then we're going to need you to let the people know on Twitter maybe how that comes out tomorrow. And if you do happen to see like Bryson's name like wrapped around a turd later.
I feel like Bryson's already in the tummy area, beating balls around.
Nice. All right. Well, you know what? Listen, we got one more tournament of the year after this, of 2020, the disastrous year that 2020 has been. But we're gonna have some good interviews coming your way. We're gonna have a good time for the rest of 2020. Thank you guys for your support. Thank you to everybody who took in Masters content. We had a ton of it. We appreciate it. Can't wait to get it back going again for Masters 2021, hopefully with patrons in just 5 months. It's going to be back, which is fantastic. Back-to-back Masters. I can't even believe it. Can't believe I'm saying that. But thanks for listening, everybody. We appreciate it. Have a great week. Give the video a thumbs up if you're listening on YouTube. Leave us an iTunes review if you don't mind, if you're listening to podcasts on Apple. Yeah, may your screens be green. Tour Junkies, RSM Classic. See ya.
Out.